Hi, I'm Freddie.
And I'm Chantal.
And we're the authors of His,
Her,
Now,
Together.
And we're so excited. This is week 14, awesome week, and we're just ready to get into this segment for this week. And what's the topic for this week?
Well, we're still in communication, but this week we're talking about the subject of unforgiveness.
This is a very, very touchy topic for a lot of individuals, especially in couples relationship. And a lot of times there are previous relationships, there are previous encounters in life with co-workers, family members, whatever. And we've been hurt. And if we don't learn to forgive them, totally forgive them, not just say, yeah, I forgave, but I haven't forgot about it, that causes a problem later on in your relationship. Why? In our years of experience of counseling couples and individuals, I had the opportunity to counsel a lot of men, and we men are taught we never allow someone to see us hurt. And we were taught it's best to get back and show our frustration. No. What it does internally, it affects us. It may not have an outer appearance, however, internally it does. And later on, it affects your relationship. I know with me, I had the opportunity to counsel a gentleman, and he told me his story, and it was very graphic of what he went through. And I walked him through the stages of forgiveness. And I was convicted because I had something that affected me over 10, 11 years ago. During that process, I was convicted to write this individual a letter and tell this individual how I felt, what it meant to me at that moment, and how it affected my life and eventually affected my relationship. It's not my job, it's not your job to try to find out, did they receive it, did they accept it? Your job is to release yourself, release your frustration and bitterness in order for your life to flourish, in order for your relationship to flourish. So having unforgiveness is a powerful thing that will eventually destroy you, and you cannot go beyond that initial event. And Chantal, you have your segment?
Yes, well, like Freddie was saying, that a lot of times you can hold on to unforgiveness for years and not even realize that it's there until you come across those people. Because a lot of times how you know if you have not forgiven a person is that if that's the first thing you remember is that event. Or if you have a tendency to be angry or seem to be bitter towards that person, you have to really examine and say, well, you know what? Something must be going on there.
That's right.
And and it was a personal example of mine when I was planning for my 20-year class reunion. And I was noticing that during the whole, planning process of the reunion, that I was, really snappy at my classmates, and I was on this defensive, feeling like I had to try to prove myself after 20 years. And then as I began to sit back and really begin to look at the whole situation, I realized that it was a lot of hurt and a lot of things that I didn't let go, and I still had unforgiveness towards a lot of my classmates. And it had generated bitterness, and it had generated anger. And those feelings were displayed during the class reunion. And so at that point, once I recognized that, I had to release that. Because the thing was that it wasn't hurting necessarily my classmates. Yes, in terms of how I approached them was wrong, but ultimately it was hurting me. I was holding myself in prison for events that happened 20 years ago, and I hadn't gotten past that. And that is not a good thing. And it actually, like Freddie said, it can affect you mentally. It can affect you emotionally. And so that's why you have to be willing to choose to release it. It's a choice. It is a choice. And then a lot of people say, well, I can't forgive and forget. Yes, mentally you may say, well, okay, I cannot forget that particular incident, but you have to choose to forget and allow those relationships to be amend. And I know a lot of young ladies out there, you may have dealt with abuse growing up, maybe sexual abuse, maybe physical abuse. And as hard as it may seem to have to forgive your abuser, the thing is, it's not for your abuser. It's for you. It's for you to move on in life. Because if not, you are still in that abusive situation, because you are still generating those feelings that you have not allowed to be healed in your life. And so that's why it is so important to release that unforgiveness and allow yourself to be truly healed in your life.
And one of the things that we deal with, and we hear this terminology, post-traumatic stress disorder. This is a real deal. I don't care where you are and where you've been. There can be one scent. You can smell something, it immediately take you back to that event. You can hear something, it take you right back to that event. And you relive that over and over again. A lot of people don't think about that until you get to the point you say, I'm going to forgive that individual, because I don't want to be in a position where I have to go back and relive that event all over again.
Exactly.
Don't worry if they receive it or not. And what Chantal said is so important, because you're the one suffering. And a lot of times people that cause you harm sleep well at night. Exactly. They feel they didn't do anything wrong, or they just that arrogant. But one of the things is that we have to do is say, I got to do it for me.
Exactly.
I got to do it for my relationship, because what that does is, in the communication aspect, within a relationship, within a marriage, what someone done to you, if your spouse just sound like she's about to say that,
exactly,
act like she's about to say it, immediately you reflect back to what you experienced in that negative event. Forgiveness is a powerful thing. Yes, it takes time. Yes. It does. I'm not going to tell you overnight you can be totally, but over time you gradually work through that process and say, I'm going to forgive no matter what, because I'm not going to allow that person to affect the rest of my life.
And so also for me, another incident, like I've told a lot of you, that I went through a divorce, and I had to truly forgive my ex-husband. And, and get to the point that, I wish him well, because if I didn't forgive him, I would have had those ill feelings towards Freddie. And so, like Freddie said, that, when we first got married, the least little thing that he would do that would remotely resemble my ex-husband, I automatically went back to that place. And so I was like, well, you know what? Because when you think about it, as long as you don't forgive, you might as well say you're still in that same situation. And so, the thing is desiring to get past that and move into the next level. And so that's what we encourage you to do, just to search your heart. And, and ask yourself, well, is there some unforgiveness that's still there where, because you may find yourself, you feeling bitterness towards someone. It may be, something you've held on towards your parents, friends, if you've been divorced. It could be numerous of things to really just examine, say, well, what areas in my life do I really need to just release those people, and so I can go on with my life, so I can have peace at night.
That's true. And one of the things that, in closing, after you have done that, this is the time we're talking about still in communication, to convey that to your spouse.
Exactly.
Why? Because what I endured over 11 years ago, I could not have made it if I didn't have my wife. I took the time out to discuss with her the nightmares I had, the event, and she had to walk me through that to get to where I am now. I still had unforgiveness, but through that traumatic event of my life and death situation, my wife was the one to sit there and said, baby, I don't care. I'm here. I understand. You have a bad day. Let me know. We'll deal with it. But I had to get to the point as a man, realize I still got to talk to my wife. I still have to convey to my wife. But let's say, for instance, I did not open up and communicate to her. I'd have been dealing with it all by myself, and she had no idea of what I was dealing with. And so those are the things. So, and
also something else I wanted to add, like Freddie was saying, he conveyed that to me. But at the same time, wives, I definitely encourage you to do this. Prepare a safe place for your husband to be able to come and talk to you, so that he can be transparent with you when he shares his hurts. And one of the most negative things you can do is never belittle him as a man because he is being transparent. If anything, a true man is able to just expose himself. And that's what you're supposed to be within a marriage. You're supposed to be able to come to that person and be transparent, and knowing that you have a safe place to be able to share those feelings. So that's one thing I would encourage wives to do, to allow their husbands to come to them, and knowing that they're still going to be viewed and respected as their husbands and as the man of the house, regardless of the fact that they're sharing their hurts and they're being vulnerable. And so I encourage ladies for you to do that.
And like I said, this is a deep, deep topic that we're forgiveness, unforgiveness. And as we close, we're closing from his,
her,
now, together. Thank you.